Hey folks, so as some of you know who follow me on other forms of social media, I was at the Women's March on Washington on Saturday, and it was an amazing experience. It was one of the greatest days of my life. I can't express to you how encouraging and invigorating it was. I'm going to show you some footage that I shot while I was there. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have my beautiful new camera that I'm shooting this on with me for a number of reasons. The organizers and the DC Metropolitan Police had asked that no one have backpacks in the march for security purposes, and my camera bag is a backpack and it's a little bigger than the size limitation that they impose, so I did not take my nice beautiful Canon 70D camera. I took my much smaller handheld camera, so the video that I'm going to show you that we shot on the day is a little shaky in parts, and it's terribly framed because the camera doesn't have a rear-facing camera, so when I'm shooting myself I can't see what the shot is, so I apologize for that in advance. But I'm going to show you a few minutes of the footage I shot with myself and Christy Winters, who was there with me as my my protest buddy, and then I'll come back at the end to give you some sort of closing thoughts about the Women's March, at least closing thoughts for this video, because I'm going to be talking about it a lot in the days and weeks ahead, because as hopefully you'll see from the footage, and as hopefully I'll get across in this video, it was a hell of a day, and it is going to be a huge source of motivation for me and for a lot of us going forward. So check out my home movies from the Women's March on Washington.
Hey, so we're at the Women's March, me and Christy Winters, and we've been mostly standing, and then we marched for about, what, half an hour or so, 45 minutes, something like that, yeah. And now we found a nice space sort of away from the main crowd, and I mean, this is some shit.
I've been in a couple of protest rallies. I went to the ones in London, which I thought were packed, and this just tops that. It's amazing. It's phenomenal.
It's real. I've never been to a proper protest rally, so Christy was telling me I'm sort of starting at the top, and if I go to some more, it's going to be a while before I top this one, because it's the turnout. If you're not here, or you weren't here when this happened, you can't fully appreciate
how many blocks?
How many blocks?
Of people?
How many people?
The atmosphere too. People were stood in the same spot for 4 hours and they were still in a good mood. They started to get a bit fed up.
There were some gripes and complaints, but for the most part, I mean, we were peaceful. We were happy. It's remarkable. I was when I was walking in, which feels like forever ago. You feel like you hear people sort of saying things while you're marching, and there was a lady, I think it was actually while we were waiting to use one of the porta-johns, and there was a lady who walked by, and I just heard her say in conversation to one of her friends, "Oh, I saw the most lovely painted vagina."
Phrases you never hear.
I assume she was talking about a sign of some sort, but you don't know. I mean, who knows?
I mean, the number of homemade signs. I know that several groups were going to hand out signs, but I haven't seen a lot of the stock signs. Everything is someone's own expressions, what they care about, and everything else. So it's been a fabulous, fantastic day. It's really made yesterday a distant memory.
Oh my God! Talk about, and I probably especially for you, because you were actually here. I wasn't in town for the inauguration, but it's that whiplash of having the deepest shame about your country, the deepest sort of the lowest point, when one of the worst things that our generation will probably ever do with the election of Donald Trump, and then flipping it to such hope and such activism today. It's really and this is the day after.
Right.
This is the day after the darkest day in recent American history. And here we are.
Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, get back in the game.
I just want to show you something. Just take a look at this.
Can we zoom in to show how far back that crowd is?
let's do that.
You gotta go by the fence, because that's all people waiting to get out into the street.
And we've been sitting here for about 10 minutes.
And it's not
And before that, we were marching for maybe an hour total, and we had another break where we sat for about half an hour. This is still the number of people streaming down Constitution Avenue. And this is a feminist march. So the next time you hear anybody, whether it be on YouTube, what are the odds of that happening? Or anywhere else, especially if it's in some hall of power like Congress or your state legislature or on TV or whatever, tell you that feminism is not a mainstream issue, is not a human rights issue, is a fringe movement, is about female supremacy, is about robbing men of their rights, is about problems that don't exist or problems that are just in the past or whatever line of horseshit they try to feed you. Don't just show them this video. Show them all of the videos that all of these people around here are taking that are going to be posted on their Facebooks and their Twitter and YouTube. Look at all of these people. Look at all of these people that are here for a feminist march in Washington, D.C. And you don't dare let anyone try to tell you that this is not a mainstream humanist political issue that affects the lives of everybody here. Anyone who tells you that is either ignorant or they're lying to your face. Don't stand for it.
If there was one lesson that I take away from the Women's March, it's actually the same lesson that I took away from the First Reason rally in 2012. And that is, to everyone who is a feminist, who is someone who cares about social justice, who cares about pay equity, who cares about religious equality and religious pluralism, who cares about reproductive rights, who cares about refugee rights, who cares about police brutality and racial inequalities in the criminal justice system and in law enforcement. Anyone who cares about issues relating to marginalized people. Oftentimes when you come on the internet, it can feel like you're outnumbered. It can feel like you're alone. It can feel like people who are your enemies, people who seek to vilify and denigrate you, people who try to abuse and harass you, people who try to silence you and chase you away. It can feel like they are much larger and much louder and much stronger than you are. And if you've ever felt that way, or if you feel that way now, my lesson to you is you are stronger than they are. There are more of you than there are of them. You are not alone. That is the thought that I had at the Reason Rally in 2012 when I was surrounded by thousands and thousands of my fellow atheists. That was the feeling times 1,000 that I felt on Saturday at the Women's March on Washington, when I was one tiny, tiny speck in a crowd of hundreds of thousands of people that were all there for one of the largest public demonstrations in the history of the United States, which, if you add the Women's March on Washington to all of the sister marches that took place in other cities around the country, like in LA, where they had 750,000, in New York, where they had 500,000, maybe even more, where it was present in cities, there were, I heard an estimate, something like 700 cities all over the world. An estimated total of 3 to 4 million people attended women's marches yesterday. One of the largest demonstrations in the history of humanity. You are not alone. You are not alone. I was surrounded by people on all sides yesterday. My friend Christy Winters was right next to me. There were other friends of mine who were in the crowd who unfortunately I didn't get to see, didn't get to meet. There were so many of us. And it was so positive, and it was so uplifting, and it was so strengthening and motivating. And if you weren't there, you can only imagine what that felt like. And standing there amongst all those people, and then sitting there on the steps of the National Archives, where just through a door behind me sat the founding documents of the United States, the very documents that define the rule of law, that gives all of us here in the United States the inalienable rights that unfortunately many of us have still had to fight for and win through long battles, both politically, socially, sometimes unfortunately violently. The very documents that guarantee our rights, and which we have fought to defend for so many decades. And here was I and Christy and hundreds of other people sitting on the steps of the building where those documents are housed and marching down Constitution Avenue in an unending stream. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people from all over the country. And I watched that, and I shot some footage of that, and I realized that we have serious problems in this country. We have a long way to go, especially these next 4 years. We have a lot of tough battles to fight, but we can do this. Now, it needs doing. We have to do it. We can't just say, oh, good job on the march, everybody. We really made a difference, and then go back and rest on our laurels. We have to do it. We have to do the work. But what Saturday showed me, and what I now know without a shadow of a doubt, what I have such faith in, is that we can do it. We can do this. Trump is no match for us if we unite, if we have unity in our diversity, as we had on Saturday in Washington and all over the world at all of the sister marches all across the globe. If we come together, there's nothing that can stop us. And I can't tell you how good I feel. I can't tell you how happy I feel. And how privileged I feel to have been a part of it. I'll remember what it felt like to be in Washington, D.C. and to march down Constitution Avenue in a crowd of thousands, and then to look, to cross an intersection and look 1 block over on Pennsylvania Avenue and see that there were people marching and filling that street too, and to look the other side and look down the other block on Independence Avenue and see people marching down that street too. Our street was full. The 2 streets on the other side were full. You look at those aerial photographs. The National Mall was choked with people. It was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. So don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like you're outnumbered. Speak out. Act out. Go to demonstrations. March. Call your congressman. Write letters. Organize. Run for office if you feel moved to do that. And don't forget that there are a whole lot more of us than there are of them. And if we stick together on this thing and we support each other, we're going to win. It's only a matter of time. We're going to win. You're not alone.